I can remember that I had a hard time climbing the cargo net to get aboard ship, that I was that weak. And we had so many wounded aboard. The hospital ships, we didn't have enough hospital ships to take the wounded. Sick bay on the troop ships was full of wounded. We had one guy that had a hole in his back and that was bleeding quite a bit. If he had he had to have a blood transfusion every day. And if you had the right type of blood, they just put you on a list when it come your name you gave. And it was about 30 days from there to Pearl Harbor. I gave twice, and if we hadn't got into Pearl, I'd have had to have given the third time before. I never did find out how that guy come out, but he was still alive when we got to Pearl. But here we were, I'd lost about a pound a day, I lost 30 pounds what I was.
Wow.
And didn't have enough strength and still was giving blood. Yes. And when we give blood, we done it a little different than they do it now. Or they down beside him and they stuck a thing in your arm and gave it direct to him. How they knew how much we give him, I have no idea. Must have timed it.
Probably timed it somehow, yeah.
It was different back then.
Sure. And how long were you at Pearl Harbor? Because you said you eventually went to Japan.
Yeah, we were at Pearl, just taking on supplies. Since we were there on Iwo longer than they thought, supplies was a problem. And so we went to Pearl to take on supplies, not only for the ship we was on, but also for camp. And we was only at Pearl 3 days. Then we went back to camp. We laid around for 2 weeks. You could go to mess hall, get whatever you wanted to eat anytime in 2 weeks. They was trying to fatten us up before we went back into training.
Yeah.
Get a replacement in.
And you would go back into training, so.
Oh yeah.
So for each step along the way, you would train specifically for that target.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And see, you had enough new replacements. They had to know what they had to do also.
Mm-hmm. So that.
You knew what to expect. When we went to Iwo, truthfully, we were kind of looking forward to it.
Did you know that the sand was going to be that loose?
No. We didn't. There's a lot of things we didn't know.
Yeah.
And now, just like you could get a picture of Iwo or a map of it and look at it and say, you're to land here, and this is where you're to drive your Jeep to.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all you knew about it. You didn't know any more about it than that. So consequently, when I landed with that radio Jeep, I came off that landing craft and immediately got stuck.
Yeah, I don't know if Brent, I've heard or read about the terrain there, particularly the Jeeps, or the beach I mean, but I don't know that Brent has ever heard. Would you explain to him what the beach was like?
When you came off of that landing craft, there was a terrace that went up. Probably, where I was at is probably 15 foot went up. And then it leveled out and then went up again about that much. And it was about, the sand was, well, somebody said it's like wheat. It wasn't exactly like wheat, but if you took a helmet full of sand out and throwed it out, you had to look back to see where you took it from. It'd run in that quick. And when I came off that landing craft, the Navy didn't want them to go ashore very far. Because they didn't want that landing craft hung up on the beach. So consequently, when they dropped that ramp, you was right at, usually you had a little water. But anyway, when I came off of it, I went probably, I don't know, 15, 20 foot, and then just sunk. And that beachmaster, he said, "Get that son of a bitch out of here before you get us all killed." And we was under a mortar barrage at that time. I said, "I need help," scared to death. And they run some Marines out there and give me a push. And I got up on the terrace, and there's a little solider up there. And when I got up on top, you could look out, and all you could see was just junk. I knew where I was supposed to go, and I seen tank cabs going the way I wanted to go, and they hadn't. There was still landmines that they hadn't cleared, so I took them tank tracks and went the way I wanted to go. That's how I decided where to go. So, but can you imagine, here I was, 18 years old, driving a radio Jeep, a sergeant. I didn't know any more about it than you did.
Yeah, but you were a sergeant. You're supposed to know that, right? You had.
I knew where the guns were supposed to be.
Yeah, yeah. You were had been in for 2 years or so at that point.
Yes, yes. I've been, that was in February, and I've been in 2 years in March.
Okay. So you made some pretty good rank then. To be a sergeant was.
All you had to do was be there when a rate come out. You know, they had to have so many sergeants and.
Okay. Did you have to test for it or to advance for it?
I'd already done that with the education I had on the radio.
Okay. Yeah. And eventually you got to Japan after, was it after they had surrendered?
Yes, yes. They, going in, we landed at Sasebo, and Sasebo was to the Japanese about like Annapolis is to us. It was our basic naval base. And going in, we landed there. And we landed on a seaplane ramp. Didn't even get our feet wet. But going in, according to the terms of the treaty, they had to have a white flag every place they had a shore battery. And there wasn't any time you couldn't count at least 3 white flags aboard ship, and as many as 5. Just of little islands that had shore batteries on them. When we got to Japan, we went to a torpedo boat factory, and they were making kamikaze torpedo boats. And the bay, I don't know, probably had 30, 40, 50 in it. And we went to the bay and guarded those boats to be sure that and that's where we went when we got to Japan, was to this bay. And we destroyed all those boats, and, you know, we checked all the police stations, hospitals, any place that looked like that they, the terms of the treaty, to be sure they were complying with the terms of the treaty. And but it was all different. Like I said, the Japanese were starving to death. We didn't realize it at the time. Their infrastructure was basically gone. They didn't have roads like even we were used to here in this country. We had 2-lane highways. Out of Nagasaki, the 2-lane highway only went probably 30, 40 miles, and that was it to some of the communities. Most of them were dirt roads or gravel roads, and it is different.
Yeah. How long did you stay in Japan?
6 months.
That long. So you missed the big homecoming for all the troops?
Oh, yeah.
By the time you got back, it was old news, huh? That must have been disappointing.
No, not really. Just a tickle to get back, but
Didn't matter.
no.
No parades
And you know,
or anything.
the thing about it, I could remember getting off of the ship. I don't remember riding the trucks to camp. I don't remember the train trip back to get discharged.